Today we have the opportunity to look at a brand new car. Obviously, when we do new vehicles, they are new, but this is a new model for North America. Our spotlight today is on the 2018 Kia Niro SX Touring. This is the only subcompact crossover SUV offered in North America as a hybrid. Now, some of the other manufacturers do have hybrids outside of Canada and the United States, but this is the only one that we have a chance to get here. So we're going to be showing you everything about this car, showing how efficient we can get it over the course of this week, and everything else you need to know if you're in the market for quite possibly one of the best looking compact crossover SUVs on the market today. This subcompact crossover SUV follows Kia's design language. You've got a really similar front end with other vehicles in their lineup. You have HID Xenons up front instead of LED, and then you also have halogen fog lights at the bottom. You also do have that similar radar shield just found at the bottom. It really looks good to keep it out of the way. If you do unfortunately live in an area that needs a front license plate, then it's kind of out of the way and it looks nice even if you have to do it there. So you do have the radar shield at the bottom for things like active cruise control and collision avoidance. Like other vehicles we find in Kia's lineup, they have automatic power folding mirrors and 2 contact points along the doors to be able to open them up and unlock them. Now, unlike the other SUVs that we featured from Kia, you don't have a power liftgate. You do have to do it yourself. It will pop up after you've pulled it up enough, but you do get a privacy screen in the back. So if you do have valuables that you're putting back there, you don't have to worry about people being able to see into them. And I gotta say, there really is a good amount of space back there, considering this is a subcompact crossover and the fact that it's also a hybrid. So the batteries are actually back here, but you do have space to have, for example, your front license plate that you don't want to use, or your owner's manual, or other things. There's a good amount of space back there compared to the Mazda CX-3, for example. Moving into the back seats of the vehicle, it is pretty straightforward. You do have a dual vent system there that you can pretty much turn on or off. And you also have a 115 volt outlet down at the bottom, and your armrest folds flat. So there's not a whole lot going on in the back here, but there is a good amount of space back here for a subcompact crossover. Now, moving up into the front area, again, we find a very consistent design language with Kia here. It's very similar to the Optima that we featured before. It does have a Harman Kardon audio system and kind of similar controls there. Some people might find that because the HVAC controls are off-center, it might look a little weird, but overall we find that the design is pretty good. You have an 8-inch screen up top. It doesn't seem like it's as high resolution as the other 8-inch screens that we've used from Kia, but you do have the split screen view to be able to see your map and your media, but then you also have the mode for Eco. So you can see how good you've been doing. We've averaged, as of right now, 5.7 liters per 100, which isn't too bad. It is very difficult to keep this car in full EV mode. Now, since this is a hybrid, it really does focus on that fuel efficiency, so you don't actually have a regular tachometer. It is just Eco, power, or charging mode. And we do really try to keep it into the Eco mode. Now, some of the other creature comforts you do get with this, you do have front and rear parking sensors that you can turn on or off just beside the gear shifter. You have a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated front seats. And then again, all those safety features, you have blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, collision avoidance, and active radar cruise control, along with rear cross traffic alert with the backup camera. I hope you can hear me over the engine. It actually is quite loud. It does kind of get a little quieter when you're driving around after a little bit. It started up for the first time today, but it is kind of loud, and it doesn't sound as smooth as some of the other engines that you'd be finding in this segment. But again, it is a hybrid right now. It's basically just charging the battery as it's parked here. But that is something to note. I mean, a lot of people are looking at this car. Some people might be buying it just because it is a nice looking subcompact crossover SUV, but there are going to be a lot of people that want it specifically for the fact that it is a hybrid. And that could be one of the things that people don't necessarily notice when they go on a test drive, is how loud this engine is, especially in the morning. If you're thinking to wake up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning to get to work, and this is what you have to deal with, that might be something to consider when you're looking at them. But for the most part, it's a small engine that's powering a vehicle that's also charging an electric motor. You do kind of have to expect to find that sort of thing when you're taking a vehicle like this out. So keep that in mind if you are interested in buying the Kia Niro. This is quite loud. Now, your average car enthusiast isn't going to really care about the Kia Niro. This is really targeted towards people who want a SUV crossover kind of thing and have a hybrid engine. And it really is a crossover in name only. It doesn't come with all-wheel drive, but I think since the batteries are in the trunk, it sort of helps to add some weight to the back of the vehicle, which would make it a little bit better in the snow and maybe wet weather. You get a little bit more grip on the back, so maybe you don't really need to have an all-wheel drive system in a car like this. Now, I have been trying very hard. It's almost become an obsession to keep the fuel mileage low while we've been driving this. We have driven, as of right now, 517 kilometers, which is relatively average for what we do with the other vehicles we get here on test drive. The difference is our fuel economy is now at 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers. And in fact, right now, we're using zero fuel. I'm in EV mode, full EV mode. There isn't a drop of fuel being used right now. But it is very difficult to get the car to be fully electric. There is a little system here that shows you your driving style, and we reset it before we took the car. Right now, we're sitting at 83% of my driving as economical, with 16% being normal and only 1% being aggressive. So, for the most part, it is a relatively fuel-efficient car, but getting, like I said, into the full EV mode all the time is going to be difficult. It requires you probably to piss off everybody else who's driving behind you, because I've been going much slower in this car than I normally would if I was driving something else. I've been very light on my foot, making sure that it stays in that thicker part of the eco mode on the fake tachometer here, on the eco tachometer, to be able to keep it as efficient as possible and to try to keep the gas engine off as often as possible. Now, when you're going on the highway, there's no choice. You have to be in gas mode no matter what. And then, if you're coasting and maybe going down a hill and you're on the highway, then it could kick into the EV mode. But for the most part, I found anything over 70 kilometers an hour or so, you're pretty much stuck in the full hybrid mode. It'll switch between either just the gas engine or kicking in the EV engine as well to be able to give you a little bit more power when you need it. So you do have power when it's required. We have had to use full power, and it certainly will get you up to speed. It's very similar in terms of power to the Kia Rio that we featured a few weeks ago. So if you're looking at something like that, then this is a good option for you as well. But I do really, I've been really working hard to keep this car as efficient as possible, just to see how long we can go. And it's the first time we've had a press vehicle where we've driven it for a full week and we haven't put any gas in the car. We still have 1/4 of a tank left. It says we have a 190 kilometer range right now. And I think that's just because it is a hybrid, but mostly also because I've really adapted my driving style to suit this vehicle, to make it so that I'm not, again, there's no tachometer. I couldn't tell you if I've ever hit the red line, but I can tell you for sure that I am keeping it in that eco spot as much as possible. The only times we've gone into power is getting onto the highway, and even then, unless there's somebody behind me, I'm going pretty slow to get onto the highway, to use the least amount of gas possible to get me up to speed, and then coasting at about 105 kilometers per hour. And same thing in these back streets here. There's no sound because it's in EV mode. I'm going pretty slow, right? I want to, there, and now just kicked in to the gas engine, but I want to keep it as efficient as possible by using that electric motor. And I don't know, man. I mean, I've tried everything to get it up to full charge. There so far has been no ability for me to get a 100% or near 100% charge with the batteries themselves. They've the highest I think I've gotten it is basically 3/4 of the way full, and that was driving on the highway. So it's kind of difficult to get the car to be fully charged up electrically. It's next to impossible to be driving full EV mode. I think if you're going back and forth, you live maybe in a city like Toronto, and speed limit's 30 kilometers an hour, and there's most of the time traffic, so it's not like you're ever going to be going full throttle anyway, then you might be able to get the EV mode to be used for the most part during trips like that. But on a day-to-day commute like this, we're driving around, got to go to different towns and stuff, you are using the gas engine more than you normally would maybe want to, and overall you do kind of notice it a little bit. But I think that for the most part, the buyers who are looking at a hybrid like this are going to feel savings at the pump. But for me, as much as I like this car, there's a lot going for it, a lot of features that I really like the design of it. Like, it's probably one of the best looking hybrids on the market today. I think that it doesn't make sense as a hybrid. I think this car makes the most sense as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, where it's mostly electric with that plug-in battery system with a small motor to charge the battery if you need it. I think that makes the most sense for this car, because like I said, I've never been able to get that battery fully charged. I'm very rarely running in full EV mode, and I think that would be what I would prefer. You know, for me, the hybrid doesn't really make a huge difference. Yes, a little bit at the pump, but I think for me, I'd prefer to have the plug-in version of this car. It just makes a little bit more sense for my driving style, and I guess for the environment too. You'd save a lot more gas if it was the full hybrid electric plug-in version. I really think Kia has made an attractive looking hybrid with the Niro. The subcompact crossover market has grown rapidly over the past few years, with every manufacturer jumping into the ring. Toyota is the only other to have a hybrid model with the CHR, but they don't offer that engine here in North America. Mini offers the Countryman as a plug-in hybrid in this segment, but that's it. The Kia Soul is offered as an electric vehicle, and the Niro will get plug-in hybrid electric and full electric models down the road. We continue to love Kia's infotainment system, even if the screen found here felt to have a lower resolution and a more yellow tint over the other models we've driven so far. The design is also superb from every angle. The interior cabin space is better than some of the other subcompact crossovers we've driven, such as the Mazda CX-3, and it really is hard to beat that fuel economy from its hybrid engine. Ventilated seats are also a huge plus on a vehicle in this segment and price point. When it comes to our dislikes, we do have to keep in mind that this is the first hybrid we're featuring on Test Drive, but we're also concerned with the engine's sound on startup with a much louder idle than we'd hoped for. Also, we found it difficult to keep the car charged up, which is why we would prefer the full plug-in version. Driving the car in EV mode is also something that becomes an art, and perhaps having the option to run the car fully in EV mode might help drivers who are really only using it to get groceries. We do like the Kia Niro quite a lot, and I think it's a great vehicle whether you're looking specifically at a hybrid or just want a stylish, attractive subcompact crossover SUV. Kia continues to prove they're serious about building their image in North America with higher quality vehicles and new designs to meet the needs of consumers. We expect the Niro to be a very popular seller in Kia's Canadian lineup, considering we've already seen plenty of them on the road. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2018 Kia Niro SX Touring. Your support is what makes Test Drive possible, so if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button and leave a comment about this car or episode. Sharing the video on sites like Facebook and Reddit will help us reach new viewers, which will grow our little channel so we can provide more content on a regular basis. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram as @NiallLivesey to see what's new in the world of perpetual radio, as we share photos and stories of the latest cars and projects we're working on well before they get published on YouTube. Until next time, take care.